A good Chodesh, everyone. We should all have a blessed Chodesh. Ani ledoidi v'ledoidi li amelech basodeh. Hashem is close, is easy to access and to connect with Him. May we have all the blessing and the power of this month. Get us ready to make God our King. We're going to learn today Bobe Basra Daf Samech Daled. We're going to start from the Mishnah. Lo yesabor v'lo yesadus. So Reuven sold Shimon his house. He told him, I'm selling your house. Does that include also the pit of water? Bor is one type of pit. We're going to see in the Gemara, and Adus is a different type of pit of water. So says the Mishnah, it's a continuation of last Mishnah, that if you sell the house, the pits of water are not included in the sale. Even if he wrote in the document of sale, that he's selling what's underneath and what's on top, it doesn't include the pit. All it includes is that underneath the house, like we learned before, the roof, etc., but not the pit, because that's a whole different thing. It's a different use. Now, so Reuven sold Shimon the house, and he didn't sell. The pit is still his. The pit of water still belongs to Reuven. So how does Reuven access to this pit of water? Says the Mishnah, Reuven now has to go to Shimon, that owned the house now, and buy off him the way to get to his pit of water. Divrei Rabbi Akiva, that shit is Rabbi Akiva. Chachomim argue and say, "Ein tzorich likach lederech." If he sold the house and he left himself the pit, obviously he left himself the way to get to the bor or the dus. And we're going to see in the Gemara what's the essence of the machloikis between Chachomim and Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva agrees to Chachomim bizman she'omar lo chutz me'elu, if in the document of sale he said, I'm selling you the house, but I'm not selling you the pit or the bor. So he said it in special, he added that on because he didn't really need to add that on, because anyway it's not included. So if he added it on, he means to say, I want to keep a way to get to the bor, and I'm not selling the way. So in such a case, she'ein tzorich likach derech. He doesn't have to buy the way to get to the pit of water. Mochor le'acher, now a different case. If Reuven sold Shimon not a house, he only sold the bor or the dus to Shimon. So does that include the way to get to it or not? So here Rabbi Akiva oimer einu tzorich likach lederech. The buyer, together buying the bor, he gets also a way to get to the bor. The Chachomim argue and they say tzorich likach lederech. Now he bought the bor, but now he also has to buy the right to get to the bor. And we're going to see in the Gemara, like we said before, what's the machloikis between them. Said the Gemara, Yossi Ravina was sitting, and he didn't understand, Ainu bor, Ainu dus. What's the difference? Why did the Mishnah have to tell you different types of storage of water? What's the difference between them? Amale Rova Tuisofto Ravina, Toshma come and listen from the Brisa, the Tanya, Echod a bor ve'echad adus bekarka, they're both in the ground. Elo, the difference is, Shabor bechafira. A bor is you just dig in the land, and then you have a hole, and then you fill it up with water. Vadus, bebinyan, when you build a hole in the ground, you build bricks around it, because the ground is a soft ground, so you need to build walls around it, and then the water won't sink into the ground, and then you have a place to store the water. And the Rashbam explains why did the Mishnah actually need to tell you both of these cases. Because if it would tell you only the case where it's just a hole, you'd think over there, because it's not, because it's, let me just see a second, I'm not saying this wrong. Yeah, you'd say by a bor it's separate to the house, but since you built walls around it, it's like a house, and therefore it's included in the house, and therefore it's sold. And if the Mishnah will tell you only dus, you'd say, why dus is not included in the sale, because it's a choshev thing, you build walls around it, but bor is part of the house. That's why the Mishnah has to tell you both. Says the Gemara, similar, the same thing like we just learned, just with different people had the same question and came with the same solution. Yossi Rav Ashi, this time was the Rashi, the Kokashli, and he had the Shaila, Ainu bor, Ainu dus. Why did the Mishnah have to say both? Omamar Kashisha brother of Chizdel Rav Ashi, Toshma Kama listen to Tanya, we learned in the Brisa, Echod a bor, Echod a dus bekarka, Ela Shabor bechafira, but dus bebinin, exactly the same shakli v'tari like before. And the question is why the Gemara has to repeat it twice. Maybe the Gemara wants to show you that they're both mechaben exactly the same way of learning. When you have a same kashan, same teretz, and someone else has the same kashan, same teretz, it strengthens that that's the truth. So we learned in the Mishnah of a tzorech likach loy derech, and he has to buy, once he sold the house, and we said it doesn't include the bor and the dus, but now he has to buy, if you're Rabbi Akiva, he has to buy the way to get into this bor and dus. Divrei Rabbi Akiva, chomer oine tzorech. So the more my lab, what's the machlokes between Rabbi Akiva and Chachomim? It says the Gemara Daf Samech Daled Amud Beis. The Rabbi Akiva Sova, Rabbi Akiva holds moicha b'ayin yofa moicha, that the seller, when he sells something, he sells with a good eye, and that means he sold the house, he kept himself the pit of water, but he sold it in a large and very generous way that he didn't keep for himself the path to get to the bor or to the dus, and therefore he has to buy it now. The Chachom Sabri Moicha, someone who sells buying raw moicha, he's stingy, and therefore yes, I'm selling the house, but I kept myself the bor. I'm also keeping myself the passageway. Said the Gemara, but the Koamrina Nami Ba'alma, and also when we said elsewhere, and that means the Gemara on Daf Lamed Zayin Amud Beis, Rabbi Akiva Letamei. We said over there the Gemara was talking about someone who bought a tree in someone else's field, and now the tree got knocked down or died. Does he have a right in the land to plant another tree? So we said over there that it's Toilan Rabbi Akiva, that Rabbi Akiva Letamei Doma Moiche Ba'in Yofa Moiche sells with a generous eye. So therefore the buyer who bought the tree, he was generous to him. Not only he sold in the tree, he sold in the land underneath it to replant it if it dies. And therefore, says the Gemara Me'ocha, this is the source. The Gemara just said it goes to Rabbi Akiva and Chachomim. The Gemara doesn't say the source of Rabbi Akiva and Chachomim. Over here in our Mishnah, that is the source for the machlokes of Rabbi Akiva and Chachomim. Is he moicha b'ayin yofa moicha or no b'ayin yofa moicha? Says the Gemara, no, mimai. How do we know that this is a machlokes over here? Maybe over here the machlokes is something totally different. Let's see. Dilma, maybe Rabbi Akiva Sova ein odom roitze she'itim moisa v'idrusei acherim. Over here, Rabbi Akiva's shitta is, you know why the moicha who sells a house and keeps himself the bor, he has to buy the path, because the guy who's buying the house doesn't want to buy a house and someone else always is coming into the house to get access to this bor. So therefore, there's a special svara over here that's not svara like over there. Over there, maybe buying yofa or buying no yofa in the case of the tree of the field. But over here, there's a svara by keep a hold. The person who buys a house doesn't want someone afterwards to come into his house, and therefore he's not. When the person bought the house, even though that he didn't buy the bor, but he bought the whole house with no passageway for the seller. The Rabbanon Sabri and Rabbanon who argue and say that the seller keeps the passageway to the bor hold. They hold that it doesn't make sense that the seller sold the house, kept himself the bor, and took the money, and now he can't even get to the bor. How will he get to the bor? With a chopper fly into the bor, he needs to get there. So obviously he wanted to keep a passageway, and therefore he doesn't have to buy a passageway. And therefore, it's nothing to do with the shaila over there, if ba'ayin yofa moicha or not ba'ayin yofa moicha. You know what? I'll tell you where the machlokes of Chachomim and Rabbi Akiva, if ba'ayin yofa moicha or not, where the source is from the sefer of our Mishnah. Because it says, mocher na'acher, in our sefer it says that if someone sold to someone else just the bor and a dus, Rabbi Akiva included in the sale when he bought the bor is obviously a passageway to get there. Chachomim needs to buy away. So what's the machlokes? So like we said, what we're trying to say that Rabbi Akiva holds ba'ayin yofa moicha, and therefore he sold it in a nice way, and he sold together a passageway. And if he chachomim in a stingy way, and he's not selling a passageway, and that's the source of the Gemara Lamed Zayin that we were told on the machlokes of Rabbi Akiva and chachomim is the sefer of our Mishnah. So the Gemara Dilma, no. Maybe it's a whole different machlokes. Dilma b'hai pligi. This is the machlokes over here in the sefer of our Mishnah. The Rabbi Akiva Sova bosa data de loikecha zlina. Now really there's two svaras. One svara is of, like we said, that we don't want someone to step into my house. And the other svara is I don't want to have a bor that I can't get to. So Rabbi Akiva holds we always go after the loikech, because the loikech is paying money, so we go after what his intention. A person would not want to buy a house and then someone walks into his house, and in the sefer he wouldn't want to buy a bor that he can't get it, they don't have a passageway, and therefore we always go after the loikeach, because a person doesn't throw money into the air with no reason. He wants to get a good deal, and therefore we go after his intentions. Rabbanon Savra and Rabbanon hold Bosa Data the Moicha has been, and since the Moicha is a seller, he has the upper hand because he's deciding what to sell. So in the Reisha, he's selling and he's leaving himself the bor and the passageway. And in the Sefer, when he's selling the bor, he's only selling the bor and not the passageway. And that's a machlokes for Rabbi Akiva and Rabbanon, nothing to do with Ba'ain Yofo Moicha, Ba'ain Ro Moicha. Telling more Be'elam Miho, I'll tell you where the source of the machlokes between Rabbi Akiva and Chachamim is from a different Mishnah. It's a Mishnah later on in Bobby Basra that says, Lo Yisabor, it's talking about a similar case to our Mishnah, but not when someone was selling a house. It's talking about when someone is selling a land, and it says over there, if Reuven sold Shimon a land, so it didn't include in the sale Lo Yisabor, not the pit of water, that's not included in the sale. But Lo Yisagas, not the place where you make the olives or the wine. I think it's the olives. But Lo Yisashoivech, not the pigeon house. Bein Charivim, Bein Yeshuvim, doesn't matter if it's in use or non-use, that's not included in the sale. Says the Mishnah over there, that the one who sold the field and now he has over there the bori left in his field that belongs to him, he has to go to the buyer and buy off him a passageway to get to his bori. Mamish like our Mishnah, but just buy a field. He doesn't have to buy a passageway, it's included when he left himself the bori. It's also a way to get to the bori. Why does the Mishnah over there have to tell you the same din by a house? The same machlokes by a house and by a sod, elolav must be hokomash malon. This is what the Mishnah over there is coming to tell you. The Rabbi Akiva sova moiche b'ayin yofa moiche, Rabbanon sova moiche b'ayin ro moiche. Like we were trying to say all the time, and that's the source from over there from the Mishnah later on. So the Gemara no, the dilma ashmin and bais, the komash malon sode. We need both to tell you that there's a machlokes also by bais and also by soda, and the Gemara is going to explain the tzricha. Why do we need to tell you in both cases? Shmin and bais. If we tell you the shit of Rabbi Akiva only by a house that he needs to buy away, if he sold the house and he left himself the borough that the seller needs to buy now the way, mishum de boitz niusa, because the buyer doesn't want someone to come into his house to the borough because it's his private place. He wants to do his private stuff, and therefore it was obvious that the buyer was buying, even though that he left for the sale of the borough, but he has to buy now away if he wants to get to the borough. Avo so the buyer field maybe what is by field, it's meant for planting. There's no sneers in the field, so obviously when he left himself the borough, he left himself his passageway. So maybe Rabbi Akiva would be moided to Chachamim. That's why we need to tell you that the machlok Rabbi Akiva holds the shitta even by a soda. If you tell you only the later on mission about the field, you'd say, Rabbi Akiva holds that the seller needs to buy the way because walking in the field ruins the crop of the buyer because he bought it to plant over there. Now the seller's going to walk to get to his borough, he's going to ruin the crop. That's why the path is not included, and he has to buy now the path to get to the borough. Avo buy a house. There's no svara of ruining the crop. So maybe if a guy sold his house and he kept himself the borough, it's included keeping himself a passageway. So we need both cases, also bais and also soda, so it's not extra. Says it more elam sefer, the sefer of the Mishnah over there, mochon lacher, if Reuven sold to Shimon not the soda, he sold him only the borough in the soda, the gat in the soda, the shoivach in the soda, Rabbi Akiva oime ein tzorich likach lo derech. You don't need to buy the way. It's included when he bought the borough and included the passageway. He needs to buy the passageway. Why do we need the sefer over there? We could learn already from the sefer by our Mishnah from Bais. What do we need this fourth case? It's the same. Elolav must be hokumash malon. This is what it's coming to tell you. The sefer of the Mishnah over there. The Rabbi Akiva sova moiche b'ayin yofa moiche. That's the time of Rabbi Akiva. That when someone sells, he sells generously, and therefore all these four cases fit in together, and together with more on Daf Zayin that we toil and we say it's like Rabbi Akiva. The sources are the sefer of the Mishnah later on that says by a soda. That we know that this is the time of Rabbi Akiva because when a guy sells with a large eye. When someone sells, he sells like in a stingy way, the least he sells, not the most. Shmamino. So now we know what's the source of a machlokes Rabbi Akiva and Chachamim about if the seller sells with a large eye or sells in a large quantity, meaning he sells not only the house, he sells also the passageway. That's Shittas Chachamim. Sorry, Rabbi Akiva, that Moiche B'ayin Yofa Moiche, and Chacham said no, Moiche B'ayin Ra Moiche is more stingy and he's only selling the house, not the borough, and not the passageway, and that's the source of the machlokes. And now we know where the source for the Gemara on Daf Zayin on basis from these two Mishnahs together is muchach, that that's the machlokes between Rabbi Akiva and Chachamim. We should all have a very, very blessed Elul. Thank you very much.